Do you know an author called Kurt Vonnegut? He was an American who survived the bombing of Dresden, which was a German city that was bombed in the Second World War. He was an American, but he was a prisoner of war. He'd been captured by the Germans anyway, and he was kept in a cellar, underground basement of a butcher's. A butcher's is where they make meat, chop up meat. Anyway, in the Second World War, he was a prisoner and he was sleeping under there. During the night, the whole city was bombed and destroyed. And the next day he wandered out and it was like, well, like it happened in Japan. The reason I'm telling you this, he turned that experience, that horrible experience, which I've kind of tried to replicate with this AI, he turned that terrible experience into one of the best novels about war, an anti-war novel called Slaughterhouse-Five. Anyway, he was a good, really good writer, and he wrote lots of science fiction, sort of funny, comical, humorous science fiction. If I can show this one, there he is, Kurt Vonnegut. That one's called The Sirens of Titan. Just looking in this the other day, and look at that. That's whoa, Patrick Sheriff, Leicester, September 1991. I was 21 when I bought this book, and I've read it twice, maybe three times. It's quite a funny book. But anyway, all of this is to say that this guy knows about writing. He died 2017, something like that, fairly recently. But he was a very popular writer, especially during the Vietnam War. He was anti-war, and the Vietnam generation really liked him. This is all too much information. The point is, he's a very good writer anyway, and he wrote a guide, kind of 8 rules for writing a short story. And I just thought that was kind of interesting. I'm going to go through the 8 rules just a little bit here. So number one, if you're writing a short story, number one, use the time of a total stranger in such a way that he or she will not feel the time was wasted, which means don't waste the reader's time. There's got to be something interesting or there's some point to your short story. Number two, give the reader at least one character that they can root for, that they can support and say, I hope this character wins. Number three, every character in your short story should want something, even if it's just a glass of water. So every character needs to want something in a story. I like number five. Oh, sorry. Number four is every sentence must do one of two things: reveal character or advance the action. So when you're telling a story, it either shows something interesting about the character or it moves the story along, that something's going to happen. Anyway, I like number five. Start as close to the end as possible. That's an interesting idea. When you tell a story, don't start right at the beginning. Move it way forward to near the end of the story. So you get to the action quickly. Number six is be a sadist. Sadist is somebody who wants to cause pain to other people. No matter how sweet and innocent your leading characters, make awful things happen to them. So you should do horrible things, bad things to your characters in the story, because that shows what they're made of. It shows what their character really is. If nothing, if everything is easy in a story, it's boring. You've got to have action and terrible things or interesting things or, you know. Anyway, number seven is write to please just one person. And that person is maybe yourself, or maybe you have one person in mind. I'm going to write this story. I bet my wife would love it. And write it as if you're writing to just one person. Because if you think about it, the person reading it, every book, there's only one person reading it at a time, even if it's a bestseller, you know. Anyway, number eight, give your readers as much information as possible, as soon as possible. I like this, it's quite funny. He says, to heck with suspense. It doesn't matter about suspense. Readers should have complete understanding of what's going on, so much that they could finish the story themselves should cockroaches eat the last few pages. What he means is you make the stories so um, understandable. There's no bits that go, oh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen so much? I mean, maybe there's some, maybe a little bit what's going to happen, but his idea is that even if cockroaches, Gookieberry, came and ate the last pages, you could kind of finish the story yourself. It's an interesting idea, kind of funny. Woof. There's lots of information here. The English is quite difficult. Um, but anyway, I hope I've got you interested in Kurt Vonnegut. Look up Kurt Vonnegut. I'm sure he's been translated into Japanese. He's one of my favorite writers. Anyway, let's do some questions. Number one, do you ever read short stories in English or in Japanese? Number two, what's the shortest story you've ever read? I think I've read a two-page short story. I think is the shortest one. I'm not sure. Number three, has anything happened to you that might make an interesting short story, or just an idea to start a story? I'm sure there is if you think hard enough. There's something that's happened in your life that you could turn into an interesting short story, maybe with a different character. Okay, thanks for your time. Talk to you again.